ask you about, you said movies, so the question is sort of a multiple choice. Do you mean the Holy Spirit gets involved in Christian movies only, or just allegorical movies? Does he get involved in Star Wars type movies?
Yes.
What kind of movies does the Holy Spirit involve himself in?
Well, he is called the drama king, which means he loves excitement. He loves intensity. He loves beautiful things. He loves things that move the emotions of people in a great direction. Never anything in the darkness. The only time he does anything if it's a movie just bashing darkness to pieces, where good always wins. Good wins over evil, which is really what Star Wars is about. And I did not know this, but Jen said yesterday was Star Wars Day. When they say, may the fourth be with you, it's crazy. But I myself love Star Wars and what it stood for. You know, in case anybody wondered, Stan made it to heaven, people. Of course, he's Marvel. He's not necessarily Star Wars. But I just had to throw that in there for free. Stan was the Marvel guy who even to his very end was designing and creating stuff. He always, like Star Wars, George Lucas, who started Star Wars, always wanted to show good over evil.
Awesome.
Never in the movies was he for evil. And in those movies, there's almost no bad words and almost no sexuality is in the Star Wars movies.
Right.
There's like sci-fi violence, like you see robots being blown up and stuff like that. But it is for the good. I'm telling you, the movies are exciting and fantastic. And I still appreciate watching some of them. That's a good, decent fantasy.
Awesome. And did you literally say just now that yesterday, the 4th of May, that the Holy Spirit himself said, may the 4th be with you? Is that right? Did I hear you right?
They actually do say that in heaven, but they actually say that on the earth, may the 4th be with you. And I want you to know that the force in those movies was God. They actually,
awesome.
They probably hid it. They probably have hidden it. But I, in the day, was here when the first one was released. I was sitting when it's called A New Hope of all things, where when you meet the main characters in Star Wars, and that would be Luke, you know, and Princess Leia and all them, and how hope was being brought by, guess what, a remnant of people to come against the evil in these fantasies. It's true. I'm sure Steve has seen it. And so God, I know that the new hope actually shows in heaven. And you can actually sign up to be characters in that movie. Heaven has movies, but they have to be decent. They have to be exciting. There can be no evil things. There's no witchcraft in heaven. And the thing about Star Wars is they never had witchcraft. Okay, they did a great movie showing villains that weren't witches. That's a good tip right there.
That's true.
Witches are real. There are no good ones. I might as well add that for you too. But I myself, actually, God's going to have me produce movies one day. I knew I would write them, but then the Father came to me and said, I want you to get a marker and write on the palm of your hand these words. And he said, I'm writing them on my hand at the same time. This is how he does things with me. And he said, write on your hand, Heaven's Producer. And he was talking about me. So that's how I get new assignments. And there's some of the best movies that haven't even been made yet that'll be on this earth. Some will be about Christ. Some will be about the spirit realm and the truth about the spirit realm. But some will be some of the best action adventure movies you've ever seen that will be decent but powerful, without profanity, without sexuality, without witchcraft. And they haven't even been made yet. But I already know people are saying God's dropping things into me like this. And people look at Hollywood, will stop looking at it the way it is now because God's about to do something with that.
You know, you don't know this about me. I don't think I told you this, but years ago, before I kind of got attacked in my health, but I was at an airport in Cincinnati, and I got a man who was kind of a simpleton. You could tell the chronological age was, or his mental age was probably like 5 or 6, but he was an adult. He was doing the trash. And he would come along and he would tell everybody who they look like. And he'd say, you look like a plumber, or you look like this. And he came up to me and he said, excuse me, sir, can I talk to you? And I said, yeah. And he says, you look like an independent film producer. And I was taken aback.
Yay!
And then then he left for a while, and he did more things. An hour or two went by because it was a long wait airport. I was in the restroom in one of the stalls. I heard him come in and begin to tell people who they look like. He never, ever, ever repeated that same thing. And
Yes.
then I went back out to my same place. He came around. He didn't. He acted like he had no idea he'd ever spoken to me ever. And he said, "Excuse me, sir, can I tell you who you look like?" And I said, "Sure." He goes, "You look like an independent film producer."
There you
And I
go.
was stunned, and I knew it was the Lord.
Yeah.
So then go back in time, like 2 years ago, I'm at ACPE with the prophetic roundtable, and de Havilland is her name, first name, African American woman, and she's talking to me. I just had met her, and we were just talking, and she stopped in mid sentence. She goes, "You're going to produce Christian films," and all of a sudden, so she didn't say. I've had like 4 of those, so I know I've got the same heart that you do. That just because we are prophetic people doesn't mean God won't give us these other kinds of tasks, which is the same word for everyone watching. Just because you're this doesn't mean you won't also be that, right?
You are that's absolutely true, especially in these days we're in, why they're so important. Before we start getting accelerated again, people, and I encourage people, get a journal. I don't care if it's like a $1 notebook, a spiral notebook. If God has given you ideas for witty inventions or apparel, draw it. You may not know how to make it, but if God gave it to you, then you're responsible for it. Eventually, at one point, there will be places you can take that and have things made. But even movie scripts, okay, even books. But I know movie scripts is, if God could have had movies on the earth in Jesus' time, he would have used them. That's why he told parables. A parable is a movie without the screen. And so they're huge on movies, and he will be showing so many powerful things in movies. Right now in our own theater, there's probably one thing I'd even go and see because the rest of it's very dark. And but I can promise you that is going to be changing also. So write it down if he gave you something, especially if it has to do with the movies. And I am an avid moviegoer, but I always check out what's in it before I go see it.
I'm thinking right now of Jeff, who's the face that came on a few minutes ago, and he loves Star Wars. So does he get to be in a Star Wars movie if he wants, and he can play the part he wants, or what?
The one, hi to your dog. Sometimes I hear our cat meow here.
I said Star Wars and she barked. Yeah, tell us about whether you can even have a Star Wars movie in heaven.
I would have to say that does not mean every single one will be shown in heaven. There's sometimes a lot of people make a good first one, then after that, I'm not saying Star Wars did that. Star Wars showed a lot of truth about the spirit realm. It was always good against evil. I think I applaud George Lucas for, I'm sure that those scripts were downloaded from heaven for him to make those movies. And the popularity only grew, but you knew for sure there'd be no sexual scenes, almost no profanity whatsoever. And if there was like shooting and stuff, it was usually like robots or sci-fi stuff, things. I'm not saying it's always okay to see all of it. I'm not validating everyone ever done, but I did see Star Wars 1 being shown in the theaters, and people were playing Luke Skywalker. They were playing Princess Leia.
Wow, that's amazing. So they can play the part. I guess they can play the part.
Yeah, and I just tell people I don't mind saying what I saw. I share what I saw. I say what I was told. I can't repeat other people's stuff. I can't take what they got and say this. I can't. But if he showed it to me, I'm allowed to tell you about it. And I did see the first Star Wars movie shown, which was always good fighting evil. And it's mostly family-oriented stuff. So I can't say every sci-fi movie was good, everywhere made, because some of them are darker, and I don't go see them myself.
And I've been meaning to ask you this every time we've talked about movies in heaven over the years. If it was good fighting evil, are there parts that someone plays the evil part? I'm not talking about with profanity. Does someone play Darth Vader, so they're playing the evil character in heaven, or is it replaced with some other if you've seen it, if you even know how to answer
Well,
that.
since I didn't see the whole movie, I can't
Okay.
answer that
Okay.
question. But I'm
Okay.
sure if they did, we all should know. You should all know Darth Vader ends up by being good before he died.
There you go.
And if you notice, the thing that always amazed me with George Lucas was if somebody was taken out or they died in the movie, if they were a leading person, if they were good, you always saw their spirit person, like towards the end of the movie,
That's
in the
interesting.
movie.
That's interesting.
And
Yeah.
and that was like reality, really, and that's kind of reality because your spirit person isn't dead; it's very much alive. And so that's one of the other things I liked about the movies was so much of it showed the spirit realm part, but you never saw an evil person reappear in the spirit, probably because they were living in hell in the movie.
Yeah.
So I don't
Okay.
know.
Interesting.
I just think that, but you know, in the one it shows a lot of the destruction to the evil ones
Yeah.
that
Oh,
were in the one
interesting.
movie, evil. But the people who were good that died, you did see them standing in the spirit,
Interesting.
smiling and waving at
Wow.
their family on there. So
That's
you're going to
amazing.
find out yourself one day when you go. I'm just
Yeah.
saying he won't let any evil, fear, death, destruction, wickedness, evil, no witchcraft is in any movie in heaven. So if there's movies been made about witchcraft, you're not going to see them shown in
That's
heaven.
good.
So I can just assure you, because parents are thinking, people always equate what I say about heaven to earth. It's not earth.
Yeah.
Heaven has no form of darkness, evil, wickedness, hate. There's no graphic violence of anything. There's no fear or terror. That's not there. It's not going to be there. But God is a storyteller himself.
Yeah.
His son loved to give parables. It's another word for stories. Jesus told parables on the earth, but even the Father would tell stories, and sometimes he tells stories he made up himself to share with us. He's a storyteller. He loves the arts. Holy Spirit especially loves the arts. And so I can just assure you, your family members aren't bored in any way
It
whatsoever.
doesn't sound boring.
Living in light. Light comes from your spirit man. So even people have light coming from them who moved to heaven. You still recognize them and know them, though. And so you just think, if you belong to Jesus Christ, you're going to be with your family forever. And even those who recently passed, I want to encourage you to say they moved. You don't need to say you lost them, because they're not lost. They're not missing somewhere. Their body may be somewhere. Maybe you had it cremated. It's okay. God said he can put the ashes back together on the day the dead in Christ shall rise. A lot of people try to equate in their own head or try to assume things, but they're living a life they never could live in heaven. In heaven, you exist to live. And your family member has joy, celebration. They love you more now than they did before. Even if you argued, you won't argue in heaven. People will love one another, and they can't wait to see you again one day. But they know you need to live your life. You need to go forward with what God has for you and be what he called you to be on this earth. That's why he sent you.